Chapter 781, Esport, Here I Come. Sir, as for the esports that you mentioned, when will it be released? After watching the turbulent Homeland and Wind and Cloud 3, the players in the branch shop at the Xuanhuan cave abode were still thrilled. However, the shop owner had told them that the so-called esports could turn them godlike and into demon kings. It sounded ridiculous, but even peak cent level masters like us are scared by the stuff in the shop. At least, none of our artifact masters in the East continent can make such mystical realms or TV series. Maybe, at this moment, the white-bearded and white-haired Grand Elder of the Heavenly Faction summoned some elders for questioning. Meanwhile, he turned to the last page of the ancient golden scroll. But there are exceptions to everything. This fragmented line of ancient words had been deciphered by him little by little. It seemed to be a story about an ancient era in which countless masters from the East continent and the West continent compete to reach a higher realm. The last few pages of the Golden Scroll seemed to have been torn off by someone purposefully, as if this person didn't want many people to know about this secret history. It sounds like. He glanced around and said, like the sword duel at the top of Hua Mountain? Mr. Fang did say that esports is like this duel at the top of Hua Mountain, right? The faction master, who was dressed in a reddish-brown robe, stood beside the Grand Elder and looked at the latter's ancient face. Elder, do you think the esports is real or not? Grand Elder Xuanhuan looked at the incomplete scroll with his old eyes. Perhaps. It's real. The old man was obviously hesitant. Are you sure? As a sensible man, Faction Master Feng's felt like something wasn't right, and he wondered, is the Grand Elder muddled in head due to his old age? That was why he asked doubtfully. The white-haired old man glared at Feng's and reprimanded in a loud voice, of course, I'm sure. How can it now be? This little beast dares to doubt my words. When I managed the faction, you were still a small baby who was drinking milk somewhere. How dare you? Read for yourself. He threw the golden scroll left by the ancestral master of the faction at the faction master's face. Read for yourself. Masters competing. Sword duel at the top of Hua Mountain? Wide-eyed, Feng stared at the words on the golden scroll that were translated by the Grand Elder. It is exactly the same as what the shop owner had said. Then, the esports can really make us godlike. His expression instantly turned serious. While holding the golden scroll with both hands, he said shakily, You finally deciphered the ancestral master's golden scroll? Of course. Grand Elder Xuanhuan stroked his snow-white beard and said proudly, It's well worth my efforts in the last 200 years. Excellent. Faction Master Feng shouted, looking ambitious as he felt that he would embark on a great path leading to immortality just like their ancient ancestors who had stunning talents. In this era, they would write their own legend. Since the new shop had just opened, Mr. Fang would come and check it occasionally. It was early morning, and some elders and disciples walked up to him respectfully. That esports. Mr. Fang pointed at the small blackboard. On it was written, Today's new game, League of Legends. The activation is free. This mystical realm is free? They exchanged a look of astonishment. How can it be? Xuanhuan said in shock. Did the shop owner say that it can help us become godlike? You can become Ascendance Realm Masters by cultivation. Mr. Fang rolled his eyes at them. Do you charge money for that? Xuanhuan's face turned stiff. Senior, you're right. Meanwhile, in the Kanglan City shop, the elves obviously had also seen this new game, free again. There's a free mystical realm? As a member of the Magic Union, Adolf was also surprised. We had discounts last time. Dickers felt indignant for Mr. Fang and said, Now, it's free of charge. The shop owner is so kind. But will the shop go bankrupt if it does business this way? It's not like that these mystical realms are hard to sell. Instead, they are very popular. But the shop owner still released a free mystical realm. The elves were also touched. The shop owner is so kind-hearted. Yes, he is. Rowling had bought 10 games last time and had a flat wallet now, therefore, she was so touched that she shed tears. The shop owner is so considerate of us. Right. Salah seconded that. If the new game were expensive, I would have to consider if I should buy it. I'm surprised that it's free of charge. Cheer for the new game that we can play for free. The handsome young man dressed in a mage's robe and standing at the counter was Merlin, the new employee of the shop. I think we should celebrate it with a bottle of Coke. Right, I want a bottle of Coke too. 1 bottle for me, spicy sticks, too. Let's go buy some as well. Rowling suggested. We were planning to buy the new game. The money we save on the new game is money earned. Right now, the door of the shop was wide open. The spies from the Radiant Light Godly Nation sneaked glances into the shop. Origins Internet Club is losing money again. If the situation continues, we'll win without a fight. In the Radiant Light Godly Nation, Street Hines exchanged a look with Street Dylan as he said with a smile, free of charge. The previous discounts were big, but they still could earn back the cost. But free of charge now? After all, any growth in strength was not without cost. How could mystical realms that could increase people's strength and battle skills continue to operate without the support of energy? Free of charge. Our enemy is powerful, but it's a pity that he wants to be a selfless saint. St. Dylan shook his head and said with a smile, he's too much of an idealist and will bring destruction to himself. Maybe. A red-robed senior priest said with confidence. We can remove some parts of the restrictions on the residents in the remaining faith nations, so more people will visit their mystical realms and thus accelerate their destruction. Also, the Stand Kingdom, I think we can remove some of the restrictions, but we must work harder to hunt down Grand Mage Merlin. Do it secretly. Meanwhile, the players in the shops all sat before their computers and turned on the game with Coke or spicy sticks in their hands. They started the game with the dream of becoming godlike. Esport, Here I Am. Chapter 782, Igniting the Flames of War. The Summoner's Rift. Welcome to Summoner's Rift. The elves put on their virtual reality headsets. Different from the original game interface, the summoners in the system version of the game were in a chamber full of magical infrastructure after entering the game. It seemed to be an ancient summoner's hall. The people on this continent are used to battling ever since the ancient times. Magical lights flowed in the area, and the wall with neatly engraved magic runes before them revealed a battered land. Although it was a virtual scene, it looked very real. It seemed to be the world outside this ancient hall, or it was just telling a story that had happened in this world. The flames of war spread from the plains to the distant snow mountains. The dark sky was full of shadows from the void. Purple shooting stars flew across the sky into the distance. When it knocked down half a mountain, the viewers realized that it was a wave blinding magic light. Flames of war burned up villages and devoured nations. Countless people shed blood on this vast land. Finally, a huge earthquake and an extremely horrifying magic storm struck. People finally realized that the world could no longer stand the damages afflicted by the War of Runes. The Grand Mages in Valoran gathered with countless powerful summoners and reached the agreement to manage conflicts in a controllable and systematic way. Therefore, the League of Legends was founded. All the conflicts would be solved by duels between great champions summoned by summoners with different political opinions on this arena. As more and more summoners and champions joined in, no one was as stupid as to mess with so many powerful existences. Therefore, despite the continuous conflicts between hostile political factions, order returned to the continent. The war in this world will exist in this way from now on. As the queen of the elf clan, Celebel had lived for a long time and knew how horrifying wars could be, and that was why she was amazed by the method. I didn't know that wars could take place in this form. Wars can be fought in virtual reality. After watching the background of the game, The virtual image before them showed two options. One was for beginners who would enter the newbie's tutorial to learn the basic operations. The other option was entering the game directly. Since it was a free game, most of the players decided to try it. After their hard experience in Dark Souls 3, they no longer overestimated themselves and watched the tutorial first to understand the basic rules. After that, they chose to play the higher level PvP mode to battle with other players. The players in the shop grew steadily. In the Kanglan City shop alone, there were tens of thousands of players, and that was the number in the early morning instead of peak hours. Since there was only one server named Ionia in the game right now, and everyone was a beginner, almost everyone instantly got into the game. At this moment, Nalan Mingsu turned on the live stream as she queued for a match. She even got an elf to queue up for a match together with her. Of course, QQ voice chat was necessary. Oh, I got in. This was from the private QQ private chat channel named Elder Sutanji's Palace. Salah and Nalan Mingsu were listed in one small room with Sutanji, Lan Yan, Xuzixin, and some visiting elves. They were all girls. Meanwhile, people like Nalan Hongwu and Huai were also queuing for a match in their respective QQ channels. We're in as well. In the new shop 8 Xuanhuan Cave Abode, the disciples of the heavenly faction were matched up with opponents. Prompt: you can choose and summon a champion whom you like, but in Summoner's Rift, any champion can only unleash part of their strength and stay in a relative balance. Prompt: after your champion die, they will revive at the base after a short time of recovery since you only summon the projected images of the champions with only a percentage of their strength. Prompt: you can locate everyone in the fog of war through the magic map in your hands. After a series of prompts, most players entered the game. Xu, who do you plan to choose? Before the players was a simple map listing all kinds of champions and their 3D virtual images. What is broken can be reforged. A valiant female voice sounded in the QQ voice channel, and Nalan Mingsu had chosen a female champion who was holding a huge broken blade. As with other games, the players could only choose the same gender champions except for the non-humanoid champions. Oh, I was planning to choose this one. Since Nalan Mingsu had chosen this character, Salah had to choose another one. I'll choose this one, the Frost Archer. We elves excel in archery. My blade is yours. In Dongxuan Cave Abode shop, the black-robed elder Duge Xiao's screen showed a weathered face under goggles. My esports journey begins. Start. With heavy music, they gradually entered the world with their champions' strengths and souls. Rows of magic crystals and turrets sat on the vast land majestically, and the lush ocean-like green forests covered the whole valley. Lady Luck is smiling. The unseen blade is the deadliest. In the shadows, a pair of long and narrow eyes opened slowly. Stand with me, brothers and sisters. A battle flag was raised high. Magic? I'll show you real magic. The magic storms from the ancient times flashed with dangerous colors. They will receive you like champions. Blood dyed the land red. Voices, either deep, luring, or deadly, rose in their ears. Behind them, a huge and grand soul slowly woke up from deep sleep. They were summoned here, and they were the greatest champions, the strongest warriors, and the most legendary mages. They were also the most powerful weapons. At this moment, they gathered here. The sky was lit up while lights shone all over the land. Welcome to Summoner's Rift. The war began at this moment. Chapter 783, Face-checking a brush. In the Geocity shop at Darjin. At this moment, the employees rotated in shifts in the old shop, so they didn't have to watch the shop all day long as they had done previously. When they were not working, they could play online. As usual, Xiao Yelf stood behind the players and watched them play with a plate of dried fruits from the Wind and Moon Pavilion. At this moment, he was watching Yu Ziwei, a female employee of the shop, as she chose her champion. This How come some characters are grey? Xiao Yelf pointed at the screen and asked. It's because we can't choose characters of the opposite gender. Yu Ziwei waved her hand as if it was obvious. You've never played games before, you don't know it. If you can't choose them, they shouldn't be here. Why make them grey? As an expert in game guides, Xiao Yelf intuitively felt like there was something fishy about it. How can you say that I don't know it? After all, everyone was making huge progress while Xiao Yelf was the only one who couldn't play games. He had no choice but to diligently practice the ultimate techniques of at home and had become a master who excelled in every spiritual spell of the Liuyan Taoist Palace. He knew the game's guides thoroughly and could recite them backward. How can you slander me this way? Ha 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 ha. The people around him laughed. Gong Tsai Xiao, you want to play online? You guys. His face turned red, feeling like he would burst. Huh? At this moment, Yu Ziwei found that she could click on those grey champions of the opposite gender. It was just that she couldn't lock in her choice. When she tried to lock in, a prompt popped up. Your account isn't a disciplined player account. Please get appraised first. Huh? Xiao Yelf stared at the screen wide-eyed. Does it mean I can? Boss, when can I get to play games? While ignoring the people who were still mocking him, he immediately contacted Mr. Fang. Since Xiao Yelf couldn't even use QQ, Mr. Fang received a text message from him via the communication jade. Oh? Mr. Fang glanced at his privileges. As new branch shops were opened and the number of players grew, Mr. Fang had gained more and more privileges which were almost the same as those of a real shop owner. In the page of employee allocation, the previously grey line for issuing tasks to employees had now lit up. Xiao Yalf, -5-star employee, can upgrade stars by doing tasks. 0 star equals to an ordinary customer, -4 to -1 stars equal to customers with restricted level. Tasks that can be assigned to employees. Tasks that were fitting for this employee, walkthrough creation, competition commentary. Mr. Fang replied, I'll assign some tasks to you. If you do them well, I'll personally remove the ban on you. Really? Ah! With a long roar, a figure in a yellow shirt and a white robe shot up into the clouds. The emotions that were suppressed inside him for a long time now burst out. Ah ha 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 ha. The figure shot through layer after layer of thick clouds like a cannonball. He was elated. Suddenly, a middle-sized passenger spiritual boat slowly flew out from the clouds. Boom! A huge noise came from the sky. Mr. Fang, Yu Ziwei sent a message. Gong Tsai Xiao broke one bone in his neck and has applied for leave for a few weeks. She posted a screenshot in which half of man's body was stuck in the bottom of a spiritual boat. Oh. On the other side of the shop, the system remake of League of Legends had obviously made many optimized changes on top of the original version. Situated between Freljord and a remote forest, Summoner's Rift was one of the few places full of magic power. It looked just like the scene that flashed in the cinematic trailer and the opening cinematics. It was in one corner of the lush magic forest. Wolves and other wild beasts in the forest were resting in this tranquil spot. There were also all kinds of magic creatures and monsters. The boundary was sealed by a magic shield. Through the light of the shield at the boundary, the players could see the high mountains and clear sky outside the rift. Under the blazing sunshine, the jungle off the roads was filled with the ear-grating sounds of insects. Due to the intense magic power, even spiritual energy could only cover a small area in this place. Therefore, the vast areas of grassland on the paths were changed into dense jungles full of bushes, weeds, and trees. At this moment, Nalan Mingsu glanced at the exemplar of Dimasa dressed in shiny golden armor who had walked out together with her. We shall rest when we are dead. With that said, they stepped into the top jungle with great solemnness and didn't even look back. They crouched behind the brush. At this moment, two people walked out from the opposite direction. One wore heavy armor with a huge axe in his hands, and the other carried a heavy two-handed big sword. Different from the original version, the players controlled the champion's projected images, so they didn't speak the scripted lines. Sometimes, these champions would remind the summoners. Of course, if the champion had a cold personality, they wouldn't speak more than twice in one match. Obviously, Riven wasn't such a champion. Define Oxus and taste your own blood. The two people on the red side were charging up with full force under the summoner's control. Choose your own path. Nalan Mingsu seemed to feel that another soul's awareness and force were flowing in her body. That voice was reminding her, a sword mirrors its owner. A new force flowed into her body as if she had mastered a special sword technique. Broken wings. The huge blade with dark green rune energy took her forward, and she flew up in an elegant and pretty arc like a butterfly. Then, she leapt into the brush nearby. Huh? Where's she? As a player who had played Assassin's Creed, it was possible to instantly disappear from the opponent's vision into a brush. The two people exchanged a look. The rogue mage said, "She is alone." The hand of Noxus replied, "Let's go and have a look." The two players walked into the brush in excitement. "Don't run, hee hee. What is broken can be reforged." A huge blade fell from the sky. The huge momentum almost shattered the ground, bouncing the two players into the sky at the same time. Demassa. Almost at the same time, a huge lance thrust out like a fierce dragon. First Blood. Chapter 784, The Tutorial of the Battle Between Child Z and ATM LeBlanc. TL Note, these are Chinese terms for Trash Z and LeBlanc players. Z players got the name since many kids who are bad at the game play Z, and LeBlanc players got the name since the bad ones almost go back to the wrong distortion and feed. It was quiet on the rift. It seemed like little had changed due to the loss of the First Blood. The whole rift was full of a solemn presence. The blue side that Nalan Mingsu was on had a LeBlanc player in the mid lane, and her enemy was a Z player. In the most prominent place in Dongxuan Cave abode shop sat a white-clothed woman. With a snow-white face and smooth skin, she looked very proud with a cold expression. With clothes whiter than snow and a face prettier than jade, she looked like a fairy from heaven. At the moment, she was controlling the deceiver to dodge her opponent's attacks with focused attention. This was her first time playing esports. Behind her stood a group of average disciples who were learning from her by watching. Watch carefully. One elder urged them from behind, "Watch how your elder senior sister plays esports." Yes. The disciples behind her were full of excitement and admiration. Hiss, this person is strong. How come he can hit senior sister with shurikens? She didn't dare to lower her guard. As the elder senior sister of Heavenly Faction and one of the most outstanding disciples in the faction, she had personally heard from the elders that this esports could improve her so much that she would become godlike. Therefore, she must do her best in each battle. Meanwhile, she would set a good example to these junior sisters and brothers, so they could learn the essence of esports. This way, the whole faction could progress. Controlling the deceiver, Yu Yin didn't dare to lower her guard while she fought with the Z player. They fought fiercely with shurikens and magic spells. The magic lights shot out like cannonballs. Sigil of Silence, old version of LeBlanc's Q ability, which can silence the enemy. Swoosh. In a flash, her opponent Z reacted very swiftly and moved back sideways. The yellow light flew past his ear. Want to hit me? Their Z had a smug smile on his face. At this moment, a sigil turned back in the sky, and it crashed onto his back with vicious force. Puh! The Z player instantly spewed out a mouthful of blood. The player sitting in a corner in the half-city shop turned grim. So strong. This person is indeed a master. Magic light flashed, and that figure appeared before him instantly. The horrifying magic energy exploded instantly in the tiny space. The Z player tried to move but found that the strength in his body seemed to have been sealed, and he couldn't use any abilities. Terrifying. She sealed the strength in my body while injuring me. This must be an ultimate master. Run. In a hurry, he rolled on the ground and dashed back wildly with a horrified expression. With repeated waves of the staff, a chain instantly shot out with a lightning-like magic attack. The attacks in a battle between masters were cast with lightning speed. Although 2 of the 3 attacks missed, her powerful presence of tanking 3 consecutive tower shots scared the Z player witless. He didn't dare to come up again. Satisfied, she returned to her lane. Elder senior sister, you're so strong. Behind her, the disciples exclaimed, my opponent is also a master. Yu Yin looked calm and modest. He looked to be suppressed, but he showed his weakness only to make me lower my guard. As a result, I got hit 3 times from the tower. He's a very experienced fighter. Then, what do you do? One disciple asked anxiously. How do we deal with this situation? Yu Yin took out a bottle of red health potion. He doesn't know that I've prepared the top quality health potion. After I take it, my injuries will slowly heal. I've bought 5 bottles of such potion. Senior sister, you anticipated this? The disciples standing behind her said in surprise. Well, you forced back a strong enemy but can still keep a cool head. In your first try with the e-sport, you're well prepared with a good strategy, keeping everything in control. Excellent, excellent. The white-robed elder in the back clapped his hands and praised. Elder, thank you. Yu Yin's attention returned to the game again. Look, the enemy has brought health potion too. Everyone saw that Zed's injuries were also healing slowly. I already said that my opponent is also a master. It seems like he thought of the potions too. Appreciation appeared in Yu Yin's eyes, and she got even more thrilled. I didn't expect that I would encounter such a great rival so easily in this esports. The 2 rivals fought even more cautiously until they reached level 6 and consumed all 5 bottles of health potions. At this moment, their murderous spirit rose sharply. The final moment comes. It is about time to see who wins. Yu Yin said. The average disciples watching from behind her got tense up as well. Perhaps this is the true meaning of the sword duel at the top of Hua Mountain. They wished that they were standing on the battleground themselves. At this moment, Yu Yin controlled the deceiver to move. The move was so fast and blurry that it seemed like teleportation. She appeared before Zed instantly. However, Zed appeared at where Yu Yin's deceiver had been a moment ago. The unseen blade is the deadliest. The player controlling Zed murmured the line that his champion said most often. When the blade slashed out, the shadow that was staying where he had been instantly made the same move. Boom. The magic cannonball crashed down with a booming noise. After throwing out his shurikens, he retreated immediately and dodged the 3rd shot from the turret. Both opponents were highly tense. Soon, Yu Yin reacted and used Mimic. The distortion that was as fast as teleportation helped her dodge 1 attack of his shurikens. However, her opponent threw the other shuriken at the deceiver's landing position as if he had anticipated her next move. Hiss. He anticipated it. So strong. At this moment, both people's HPs were low, and they ran out of health potion too. The braver warrior would triumph in a fierce battle. This was the moment to end the battle. Fight it out. As long as her sigil locked onto her opponent, the latter couldn't escape from her. It would also seal the opponent's strength for a little while. Together with Ethereal Chain, she would undoubtedly kill her opponent. She launched 2 magic lights instantly. However, she saw that her opponent, Zed, vanished. Death mark. Yu Yin found that this horrifying killer seemed to have snuck into her shadow and moved with her like a shadow. She couldn't get rid of it. My goodness. The disciples standing behind her stared at the scene in a daze. So strong. Don't panic. As the eldest disciple, Yu Yin calmed down immediately. My distortion can instantly return me to the previous position. He can't catch up with me. Swoosh, swoosh. Who? The moment that she heaved a sigh of relief, she heard a gust with sharp whistling sound coming toward her face. Careful. He's still here. Ah. While controlling the deceiver, Yu Yin was startled and then raced toward her base. Run. Boom. Zed finally realized that something wasn't right and immediately retreated. Boom. The turret killed the player Sabaking. The deceiver had fallen to the ground in her panic. In embarrassment, Yu Yin controlled the deceiver to get up from the ground. It's over finally. You won. Applause came from behind her. It seems like senior sister is stronger after all. No, he has help. At this moment, a glint flashed in the eyes of the elder who was watching from behind. Suddenly, a figure appeared in a corner. Be careful, elder, don't worry, I still have flash. Yu Yin became tense again. I can dodge his attack the moment he uses it. Good, you're well prepared and can keep calm in the face of danger. The opponent was a blind monk whose eyes were covered. Not able to see, he intuitively kicked at the foot of the wall. Sonic wave. A white light wave instantly shot out. Flash. Almost at the same time, Yu Yin used flash and crashed toward the sonic wave that was shooting out from the corner of the wall. Prompt. Player Azura slain elder senior sister Yu Yin. Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. Chapter 785. Take the Ancestral Master to Origins Internet Club. Due to some reasons in the early years, the East Continent didn't have as many people and wasn't as vast of a land as the West Continent, but it was still very big. Masters from different places gathered in the major factions in the Grand Blessed Cave abodes and famous mountains. As for the average mortals and warriors, they lived in human nations under the rules of big families. There were also spirits and wild mountain beast demons who lived in the hidden Blessed Cave abodes. These factions had deep roots in this land and knew everything happening on this continent. In the Xuanhuan cave abode If the Dongxuan cave abode was only a city-like gathering place for cultivators, then the Xuanhuan cave abode was absolutely a cultivator nation inside a small world. Under the leadership of the abode master, Linxuzi, it had prospered. This heavenly faction. In the Xuanhuan cave abode, the spiritual essence gathered like a vortex in the deep and tranquil spiritual mountain that was covered in all kinds of blooming spiritual flowers, and a grand palace hovered in the air in the support of an invisible force. It looked like an immortal abode. A few ethereal-looking Taoists gathered here. Have you found out the information about the so-called Origin Internet Immortal Palace? In the center sat a Taoist appearing to be in his 30s. Wearing a pale purple Taoist robe and a grand silver dragon headpiece, he looked very elegant. Although the others had white hair and ancient faces, this purple-robed Taoist emitted a presence that made others sure of his identity. He was the core figure in this group. What's this heavenly faction up to anyway? An old man sitting beside him said in bafflement. Usually, even if a Supreme Master built a so-called Internet Immortal Palace named Origins which offers better cultivation results than cultivation rooms, cultivation towers, or some internal mystical realms of factions, how come even their Grand Elder Xuanhuan came out of seclusion? He even led their elders and disciples to that place in person? Even if it is a cultivation mystical realm built by a Supreme Master, it is still a cultivation mystical realm. It is used to train disciples. We've also sent some disciples to try the mystical realm as well, but you're a peak ascendance realm master, which is the top level for cultivators. Why are you going there and cultivating in this mystical realm? Even if he becomes the #1 master in the world, can he really ascend and become a god? Another old man said in disbelief with widened eyes and a bristling beard. At this moment, a middle-aged man walked up in a hurry. Abode master, elders. After greeting them, this man said in a low voice, our disciples found the key information by accident. Grand Elder Xuanhuan and other elders of the heavenly faction are cultivating in a mystical realm named League of Legends in order to become godlike. What? The elder who had been talking froze for a second before saying, you. Say it again. Become godlike. The middle-aged cultivator repeated. Ridiculous. The heavenly faction has always kept their secrets well. How come you got this information? This critical information. This. At this moment, in the new shop at the East Continent dash. Elder. Faction Master Feng Zhu asks in a low voice, this is a big issue, shouldn't we keep it a secret? Xu. Grand Elder Xuanhuan stroked his long beard and said mildly, first of all, Palace Master Feng has generously told us this method. Do you think he would like us to keep it a secret? Second of all, have you understood the true meaning of the stories that Palace Master Feng told us? Meaning. Faction Master Feng Zhu looked at the Grand Elder curiously. No one is perfect. The Grand Elder's deep eyes looked out of the shop. Each step we take improves our minds, physical bodies, cultivation strength, eye sharpness, and spirits. With continuous improvement and constant purification, we've come to the Ascendance realm. You mean, the more imperfections we have, the more improbable that we can stand out from the many ultimate masters? A glint flashed in Xuanhuan's eyes that had never been seen before. So, Feng Zhu concluded, only the godlike figures can do that. However, the godlike figure isn't a title that we give to ourselves. They are people who stand out from countless ultimate masters, just like Demon King Faker and the godlike Uzi that Senior Fang mentioned. While saying that, Feng Zhu felt uncomfortable and thought, how come these names are so strange? Right. This. Feng Zhu was still uncertain. Is it believable? I've reached the pinnacle stage 1,000 years ago. I've diligently pursued this for almost 1,000 years. A trace of indescribable loss appeared in Xuanhuan's turbid eyes. Our ancestors had pursued this for countless years. Only the golden scroll left by the ancestral master records a clue, and it refers to that war long ago. It would be better if we believe that it's true. Meanwhile, in the Xuanhuan cave abode, Link Xuzi solemnly stared at the middle-aged cultivator who had just delivered the information. Li Wu, I know you're always reliable. How did you acquire this information? Is it true? Link Xuzi's eyes slightly squinted, feeling uncertain for the first time in his life. In the Xuanhuan cave abode, there was an ancient sacrificial shrine, and no one knew when it was built. It had the most concentrated spiritual essence and was very close to the place where Link Xuzi and his companions were sitting. The shrine was guarded by layers of arrays which had been left from the ancient times. These arrays were intact since they were maintained each year. However, no one knew that this ancient and insignificant shrine had a huge ice palace under it. There was a legend circulating in the Xuanhuan cave abode. Their ancestral master from the prehistoric time would return and lead them to true ascendance. Of course, not many people truly believed it. After all, it had been so long ago, even peak ascendance realm masters would have turned to dust. However, in the center of the huge ice palace under the shrine, there was an ice coffin completely sealed by 10,000-year-old ice. Suddenly, a huge noise came from inside the ice coffin. Even Link Xuzi felt it distinctively. Boom. It was another huge shake. What's happening? Link Xuzi exchanged a look with others. It seems to come from underground. One elder said fearfully. Link Xuzi said in a cold voice, come with me, and let's have a look. Complicated arrays covered the space under the shrine. Like an underground palace, it extended to the depths of the underground. In the depths was a huge palace. Open it. Link Xuzi said calmly. The ancient palace's gate, which had been sealed for many years, was opened. In the center was a huge ice coffin. Ancestral Master. An ancient voice said shakily. The lid of the Ancestral Master's coffin is moving. The moment he said it, the coffin lid broke open. Ah! They had never felt so uneasy and anxious before. At this moment, a blue-robed white-haired young man who looked to be in his 30s floated up from the coffin. Everyone, including the elders, was shaking violently. Only Link Xuzi's expression looked a bit better. After all, such an existence was like a myth for them. At this moment, this mythical figure appeared before them alive. Good, good, good. After countless years, I'm surprised that you've come to this stage. At this moment, all the spiritual essence in the whole spiritual mountain seemed to come toward him. Have you heard any information about gods or immortals? He calculated with his fingers and said, it's about time to come out. Yes. Linksys immediately remembered the previous conversation. Lead the way. This young man's eyes seemed to be devoid of any human emotions. But what? The young man asked coldly. I said, lead the way. Yes. Linksys gritted his teeth and yelled, take Ancestral Master to the Origins Internet Club. Chapter 786, Ancestral Master, that's Coke. Good. The Xuanhuan Ancestral Master looked to be a young man who was about 30 years old, with his shoulder-length white hair and handsome face. He looked to be a figure walking out from a painting scroll at first glance. Before him, the spiritual masters and elders trembled in fear. The young man flew down lightly like a feather as if he was weightless. The strange thing was that there had been no signs or phenomenon for such a big event. Except for the spiritual essence that was gathering in the mountain, there wasn't a special sign. Everything was silent as if the signs had been suppressed purposefully. Don't be surprised. With his hands clasped behind his back, the Xuanhuan Ancestral Master walked forward silently, and it seemed like his feet didn't really touch the ground. If one looked at the ground carefully, one would see that each of his steps was only millimeters above the ground, and each step had the same distance from the ground. However, not a particle of dust was disturbed when he walked on the ground. It seemed like his movements didn't disturb any particle in the air. Almost no one in the world could achieve such a control ability. Behind him, Linksys and the elders were discussing in fear. Why did the Ancestral Master come out so suddenly? How come there was no sign at all? It must be noted that such rare saint-like existences would cause natural phenomena when they made a sudden appearance. A while ago, we heard collective singing from auspicious beasts and smelled rare scents all over the mountains. I told you that something huge would happen in our cave abode, but then it coincided with Palace Master Fang's appearance in our continent of Immortal Village. While slapping his thigh, Linksys suddenly understood it. We thought that the signs are for the arrival of Palace Master Fang, who is like a sage. But it turned out that we were wrong. Maybe the signs are for both of them? Another elder said, otherwise, the Ancestral Master wouldn't have come out so suddenly. He glanced at the great palace behind him and said in fear, the Ancestral Master came out from the just to visit Origins Internet Club. Are you sure that we can find clues in the so-called Origins Internet Club? Xuanhuan Ancestral Master looked back at them. We're sure. We're very sure, the elders yelled. The middle-aged man named Li Wu said as if he was asking for a compliment, Ancestral Master, I heard it with my own ears. The Grand Elder and all the others in Heavenly Faction are determined to have at least one of them become a godlike figure. Hee hee, ha 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 ha. A bunch of little guys in the new generations, how can they do that? The Xuanhuan Ancestral Master said with a sneer, listen up. While pausing his steps, he said overbearingly as if he was looking down on the whole world, even at the time when our cave abode was just established, those few most powerful masters in the world didn't dare to say this in front of me. Godlike figure? Only the most powerful people can rule the world. Ancestral Master, you're right. Linksys said solemnly, only the true masters in the world deserve to make that step. If everyone could do it, what is the worth of the title godlike figure? Soon, they came to the door of the internet cafe, Origins. Xuanhuan Ancestral Master shook his head and stepped into the shop. Attendant. Upon entering the shop, Li Wu yelled, Attendant, I'll buy. He looked back and counted, 1, 2, 3.8, 9, 10. Get us 10 membership cards and 10 bottles of Coke. After saying that, he tossed a bag of top-quality jade crystals, the equivalent of magic crystals in value, onto the counter. Okay. Having managed a new shop before, Li Xina had become Mr. Fang's special new shop manager. Besides, Li Lanruo, who had come over as an exchange student with Jiang Xiaoyu, often helped out in the shop. Who's he? He looks so grand. Before she issued the cards, Li Lanluo looked up and saw a young man dressed in an antique blue robe walking over, with shoulder-length white hair. He had an ancient presence. He has a great background, Li Wu said proudly. All you need to know is that he has a very high and noble status. He will be a godlike figure in the future. Well done. While slightly squinting his eyes, Xuanhuan ancestral master carefully sensed and found. I sensed the presence of that godly item from this little girl named Li Lanluo, even though it's very vague. His lips curved up. She must have had some contact with that godly item, or something on her once came in contact with it. Even though it is well hidden, the little tricks of juniors in the new generations can't escape my eyes. At this moment, Li Wu handed the membership cards to everyone and turned on League of Legends. Please take a look. He lowered his voice slightly and said, if you want to become a godlike figure, you must do it through this mystical realm in the shop. Mystical realm? Xuanhuan ancestral master thought for a moment and remembered that back in his time, there were ancient and mysterious scrolls containing unimaginable opportunities and fortunes. Right. This is it, in his mind, everything connected, creating a ripple in his heart that had been as calm as an ancient well. I'm surprised that I, Xuanhuan ancestral master, am the first one to find it. He had only seen a little but could make more connections in his mind, according to his treasure hunting and cultivation experience before he established the cave abode. This girl must have the key which can open this mystical realm. In this mystical realm, I can find the location of that godly item. Pinnacle stage of Ascendance realm. Then, Xuanhuan ancestral master coldly glanced at Grand Elder Xuanhuan who was sitting not far from him. I'm surprised that after so many years, there's such a powerful master among the new generations. Are you here for that path too? He said coldly, I will not lose to you, a bunch of little guys in the new generations. Grand Elder Xuanhuan seemed to sense something as well. He looked over and said with a mild smile, you're a senior, but on this issue, we must see who has the ability to do it without backing away. Humphrey. With a snort, Xuanhuan ancestral master sat before a computer and turned on League of Legends. Then, he opened the cap of the Coke bottle and sipped it gracefully. Then, he stared at the Coke bottle so intently that his eyeballs almost popped out. After that, he took a big swig. Ah, good liquor. He wiped off the residue on his lips and said heartily, ha ha ha, what liquor is this? It feels strong in the mouth and stings like a hot knife in the throat. The color looks like that of immortal grape nectar but has a deeper tint and a richer taste. I'm surprised that there's such great liquor in the new generations. I haven't tasted such good liquor for a long time. It's really good liquor. Abode Master Linksuz also lifted a bottle of Coke and said in a loud voice, with this great liquor, I'll propose a toast to Ancestral Master for his return. To show my respect, I'll empty it first. Then, he gulped down the whole bottle. A great drinker indeed. Ancestral Master, that's Coke. Chapter 787, Newbies are all monsters. In the new shop at the East Continent, every cultivator from the Xuanhuan cave abode had a bottle of Coke in their hands. Coke? Xuanhuan ancestral master said coldly with the empty Coke bottle in his hand, this liquor's name is Coke. It's not a liquor. Li Wu immediately explained on the side, this is Coke. It's not a liquor. It's Coke. The cultivators from the Xuanhuan cave abode looked at the bottles in their hands curiously. Then, what is Coke? Coke is. Li Wu waved his fingers and thought for a moment. Coke is. Burp. It's. Linksuz and other elders looked at the disciple in puzzlement. It's. Burp. Xuanhuan ancestral master looked at Linksuz in bafflement. Burp. Nonplussed. The elders from the Xuanhuan cave abode looked at their ancestral master and then. Burp. 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 Burp burp. 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 Burp burp. 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 Burp burp. Horrified, The other customers in the shop stared at the new players who kept burping. Who? No, I just couldn't control myself. After a long while, Linxuzi finally regained his breath. The few elders also exhaled deeply. Then, they stared at Li Wu and asked, "What's wrong with this Coke?" "This." Li Wu had sweat on his forehead. "This. You didn't drink it right. You drained one big bottle in one breath. Of course, you'd burp. Is there a special way to drink this Coke?" One elder glared at him and said, "When I drink liquor on the regular, I don't need a special method to drink it. The common liquor doesn't need a special method," Xuanhuan ancestral master said. "However, when I drank the immortal grape nectar, I did it in a complicated method. Of course, this Coke has to be drunk in a special way." The Xuanhuan ancestral master instantly got interested. "Then, tell me how to drink this Coke." Li Wu took a straw from the counter and inserted it into the Coke bottle. Then, he sipped it with an intoxicated expression, looking as happy as an immortal. Li Wu praised exuberantly, "This is the right way to drink Coke." Then, he sipped again through the straw and said, "Some people drinking directly from the bottle. It's almost as rude as cows chewing on peonies. I think this beverage shouldn't be called Coke," one elder said eagerly. "This should be called Immortal Happy Nectar. Good name. From now on, we'll call it Immortal Happy Nectar." Seeing Li Wu sip Coke through the straw, the newcomers understood that they couldn't drink too much in one sitting and reluctantly turned their eyes from Li Wu's Coke. Feeling uneasy under their stares, Li Wu said in a hurry, "Elders, ancestral master, there are several other kinds of happy nectars in the shop." "There are more?" They immediately looked at him. "What happy nectars?" 1 minute later, they each had a bottle of happy nectar on their desks and finally started the journey in League of Legends. "What's the situation in this mystical realm? Are there any dangers?" the Xuanhuan ancestral master asked. "From the few words that I've heard about it, I think this mystical realm is very dangerous since we'll have to put our spiritual awareness into it," Linxuzi said. "Li Wu, hurry up and explain the mystical realm to Ancestral Master." "Ancestral Master, don't worry." Li Wu patted his chest and assured Xuanhuan Ancestral Master, "I'll first invite Ancestral Master and the elders into my lobby." Soon, Linxuzi and the elders from Xuanhuan Cave Abode all accepted Li Wu's invitation and entered his summoner's lobby. Li Wu said, "When we fight, the 5 of us won't be separated. There's such a method?" Xuanhuan Ancestral Master laughed and said, "Well done. You've already understood the rules of this mystical realm. Does it have a name?" "This is called sitting 5 in a row in the internet cafe." Li Wu explained. "Good name, sitting 5 in a row in the internet cafe." Xuanhuan Ancestral Master sipped the happy nectar cheerfully and started the journey of sitting 5 in a row in the internet cafe. Since they skipped the tutorial, Xuanhuan Ancestral Master obviously knew nothing about the game, and so did Linxuzi and others. "How do I choose from these options?" "That's easy." Li Wu said, "Ancestral Master, you choose the Death Singer. This is awesome. And this, Cry a Phoenix." Then, he explained some basic operations to them. "Death Singer?" Xuanhuan Ancestral Master looked this champion in bafflement. "Karthus is a harbinger of oblivion, zealously devoted to the beauty and clarity of death, yearning to be one with death. He journeyed to the Shadow Isles and willingly offered himself to the undead. Karthus transformed into the Death Singer, the only horrifying lich in the world to deliver the blessed gift of annihilation. He's so powerful, then, I'll choose him. Also, these so-called summoners' abilities. Teleport, revive," Li Wu said. "I saw others use them. This Death Singer can revive after death. When he has these on, he's unrivaled." TL note, this is the old league, so some skills have been reworked. He can revive, and there's a summoner's spell to revive. Xuanhuan Ancestral Master imagined the scene in which the champion was killed and then revived, was killed again and revived again. His lips curved up. This is awesome. Then, he looked a bit worried. If this champion is so powerful, isn't it unfair to others? It means that no one can defeat me. How about my champion? Link Suzy pointed at his cryo-phoenix and asked. Such an auspicious bird has great abilities, right? Rebirth. Li Wu introduced. This cryo-phoenix is very powerful with the ability of rebirth of a phoenix. It can revive after being killed. Do I also have? Hearing the champion that he chose was also so powerful, Link Suzy asked with some excitement, can I also bring teleport and revive? Of course, Li Wu said. Ha 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 ha, good. Then, we want teleport and revive as well. The other elders said immediately. This can be done, Li Wu said after a moment of consideration. Very good. Link Suzy said, we made the right decision by sending you here to gather information. You prove to be a person with great potential. They imagined the scene in which the enemies took great efforts to kill them in battle, but they stood up again. Even if they were killed again, the 5 of them would revive together and teleport back to the battleground. Just thinking of such a battle method gave them great excitement. 3, 2, 1. The game began. Chapter 788, Secret Technique, Feeding Double Kill. Well. Very good. Thinking that they had made a good plan to defeat their enemies before they even entered the game, the Xuanhuan ancestral master felt very satisfied with the wits of the disciples in the new generations and sipped some more of his happy nectar. People of great achievements are always well prepared with strategies before making a move. My Xuanhuan cave abode mostly needs people who have an agile mind and can do things with good plans. Link Suzy nodded again and said, very good. At this moment, the game already started. The projected images of the 10 champions from both sides had been teleported to the spawn points. Although they hadn't been through the tutorial, with Li Wu's reminders and explanations, they could handle the basic operations. Under the summon, the Xuanhuan ancestral master controlled the projected image of the Death Singer. Instantly, he felt like a pair of cold and horrifying eyes were staring at him from behind this projected image. The being that this pair of eyes belonged to seemed to have the ability to control people's life and death. Almost instantly, the fine hair on Xuanhuan ancestral master's body stood on end. This was the first time that he sensed danger since he woke up. Even though they were separated by endless space and time, and he knew that they were in different worlds, Xuanhuan ancestral master still felt alarmed. We must control the projected images of such existences to battle? With slightly squinted eyes, he was even more convinced despite his little knowledge of this strange mystical realm. This is it, anyone who can build such a grand mystical realm must be related to that godly item in some way. As mentioned before, since the champions were summoned to this rift in the form of projected images, the items that the players bought were in a form similar to projected images to fit with the champions. Therefore, even if they bought many weapons such as an Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, or Last Whisper, the champions could carry them all. At this moment, every player had bought enough health potions and mana potions. Then, Li Wu said, we won't use the offensive strategy of advancing in 3 lanes as taught in the tutorial. According to my experience in many matches, I think we can have a better starting position. Really? Link Suzy looked at him meaningfully. Yes. Li Wu said, the 5 of us are like 5 chopsticks. If we fight separately, each of us will be broken easily, but if we advance on one lane and fight together, we can also teleport and revive. The tutorial teaches such a mistaken method? Link Suzy said, then, we don't have to follow it. Li Wu's right, if the 5 of us stick together, we won't be broken easily. We'll work together and take the giant nexus in the center of their base. The Xuanhuan ancestral master said, since you've got a plan, let's do it accordingly. Soon, the 5 of them appeared in the mid lane as if they owned it. They were the Rogue Mage, the Cryo Phoenix, the Death Singer, the Magus Ascendant, and the Chrono Keeper, Major-type champions. At this moment, in the new shop at Kanglan City A dog-headed man controlled the curator of the sands and sent it to the outer turret in the mid-lane with a vocal command, on the magic letter for the live stream. The audience complained, "Embarrassing, are you going to stream Dark Sword or not? You suck in League of Legends too. How many matches have you lost now?" They saw Mr. Doghead, who hadn't activated virtual reality mode, cheerfully taking a bite from the fried chicken bites, the most popular takeout food from Wind and Moon Pavilion in Jua City, and sipping the happy nectar. Suddenly, he saw something on his screen. 5 fierce men aggressively walked toward the curator of the sands under the turret. Startled, he almost dropped his fried chicken bites. What's happening? So many people? He immediately returned to the game, and the viewers saw the dog-headed man in the game hugging the turret while trembling. Ha 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 ha. Link's user laughed and said, "Do you see that?" Before he could finish, he saw the dog-headed man testing the water at the edge and casting spirit fire at them. It was unbearable. Outrageous. It's outrageous. Link's user controlled the Cryo Phoenix to move, with a clear chirp. An ice ball full of magic energy that could freeze the air around it crashed toward the curator of the sands like a ghost. Meanwhile, the Xuanhuan ancestral master controlled the Death Ninja to cast lay waste, which exploded at his opponent's feet. The other champions also used their spells. Instantly, blue and red magic lights flew in arcs and exploded. Under their attacks, the dog-headed man jumped frantically under the turret. Obviously, he had been hit many times. Soon, his HP decreased quickly. At this moment, the minions had killed the enemy minions and charged forward. The Xuanhuan ancestral master had glints in his eyes. "Since we outnumber our enemy, why don't we take his head under the turret?" "Good." Linksus agreed cheerfully. "We'll show him the temperament of masters. He will know what price he must pay for acting recklessly before the 5 of us. Then, I'll lead the way." Li Wu yelled and controlled the rogue mage to charge up. Everyone else followed closely. People who were watching saw 5 fierce men chasing after the dog-headed man to the turret. Arcanopulse, Flash Frost, Lay Waste. The dog-headed man raced frantically under the turret while brandishing his staff wildly, tossing out the skill with his eyes closed. Spirit Fire, First Blood. Double kill. The Xuanhuan ancestral master glanced at his stats. Sure enough, he could still cast spells even though he was dead. "Stay calm, he is dying." Then, he cast Lay Waste one after another. Wither. With tears on his face, the dog-headed man brandished his staff and gulped down health potions. Triple kill. Heal. Quadru kill. Pentakill. Who? The dog-headed man lay on the ground and panted heavily. He wasn't killed yet but was dying of fatigue. If he was in the original game, he would probably only have a few HP left. At this moment, he saw a scene as horrifying and scary as a nightmare. Light beams fell from the space above the minions charging in the front. Those dead figures were teleported here again. 5 figures stood before the dog-headed man magnificently. Ha 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 ha. Link's user laughed and said, "Surprise." The dog-headed man was scared witless. How come there are still so many people? Are these people cheating? With a wild roar, he raced toward the inner turret. "Go get him. Don't run. My goodness, Spirit Fire. The dog-headed man fell to the ground. Meanwhile, double kill. Triple kill. Ha ha ha. Linksus and the Xuanhuan ancestral master were the only 2 remaining standing on the battleground. "I think that dog-headed man is scared witless." "Yeah? He could never guess that it's useless to kill us. We can revive on the spot." Victorious, Linksus exited from the virtual reality mode and sipped his newly purchased happy nectar, red tea, before entering the game again. "Now, we'll fight all the way to their base. I'll see who dares to block us." Right, die, revive, die again and revive again to be teleported back. Xuanhuan ancestral master laughed and said, "I think no one has ever seen such a horrifying tactic." On the other side, the dog-headed man suddenly widened his eyes in horror. Damn, how come I got so much gold? Chapter 789, Power as high as a great mountain. Is this a godlike figure? How come I got so much gold, and I leveled up? The dog-headed man's dark eyes stared at the shop. I think I can buy many items, my goodness. In the system version of League of Legends, there were also divisions of levels. Each level up would help the projected images of champion obtain more power from the real champion. While he increased the level of his abilities, he browsed the items in the shop with widened eyes, feeling a little dizzy. Frozen Heart increases armor. I need to increase my defense. Maybe I'll buy this. Spirit Visage increases magic resist. I think magic resist is better. The dog-headed man thought for a moment and remembered that his opponents had kept attacking him with magic spells. But, is there anything that can both increase my defense and offense? With focused attention, he began to look for items in the shop. After a short while, the elders from the Xuanhuan cave abode had revived one by one and came out. Outside the turret in the mid-lane dash. The 5 of them stood in one row with the Xuanhuan ancestral master in the middle controlling the Deathsinger. How come? It's still not here? They looked at the forest behind the turret. He must be afraid. The old Taoist controlling the Chrono Keeper sneered and said, seeing us revive again and again, how can he not be frightened? Then, should we? Another old Taoist said, destroy this turret. It hit me hard and caused a mess. It deserves to be demolished. The old Taoist controlling the Chrono Keeper said with a laugh, after we demolish these turrets, they will be doomed. Let the minions charge forward first. After some discussion, they began to push the turret, but they found that their magic power could only afflict very little damage to these constructions. Since the turret couldn't dodge, the attacks were very casual. So, have you felt that? The Chrono Keeper said. Felt what? The rogue mage on the side asked in bafflement. The spells that these champions use, they are activated, controlled and cast by us through the projected images. The Cryophoenix said in a loud voice, I can even feel how it is controlling the ice. Yes. The Chrono Keeper also said, I can even distinctly feel how he changes the speed of time with the spells. I can even sense how he uses his future spells and mana in the present. I can feel that even though the projected image is only a tiny part of his power, it can do many things unimaginable for average people. You mean? Xuanhuan Ancestral Master said, we can learn and mimic these Dharma spells? There is more than that, the Elder said, I think. Since we can feel the casting process in person, it's more effective than learning the pithy formulas from great masters. Linksuzi looked at the Cryophoenix on his screen. This creature appeared as permanent as ice and could manipulate extremely chilly ice and snow. Even if he didn't learn the spells that this creature controlled, he could obtain lots of inspirations in areas such as energy circulation, control of details, and understanding spells. Oh. The old Taoists exchanged a look and stomped their feet while exclaiming, shame, what a shame, we lost. We allowed the heavenly faction to learn this before us. The group of old men looked relaxed while they chatted and attacked the turret. At this moment, a dog-headed man in golden armor strode up heroically from the distance in the mid-lane. Hey? The old men instantly stared at him. The dog-headed man dares to return? He has little respect for us. Now, I've mastered 3 spells of this phoenix. Linksuzi said chillingly, don't worry, if he dares to come up, I'll give him a good lesson. It seems like this man has forgotten the lesson that we taught. Another elder said with a sneer, we must give him another lesson. At this moment, the turret still had half of its HP left after being attacked for a long while. Giving up on attacking the turret, they walked toward the reckless dog-headed man with fierceness. Level 3 was enough for him to master all of the rogue mage's spells, other than his ultimate ability, old version. The elder controlling Rise, the rogue mage, had blue lightning and violent rune energy jumping in his palms, illuminating his tall blue-skinned body. He looked like a master mage who was controlling lightning and thunder. On the other side, the majestic and tall crier phoenix spread out its huge wings with the force of a winter storm, almost blocking all the exit routes of the dog-headed man. In fact, it was what it did. An ice wall rose from the ground, cutting off the dog-headed man's exit almost instantly. Rue, how come there's such a spell? The dog-headed man became frantic. On the other side, Rise shot out an energy sphere that looked like a cannonball, and it shot toward the head of the dog-headed man. You still dare to come? You still. Before he could release the third spell, the dog-headed man seemed to have an accelerator with him and moved so fast that he left a blurry shadow behind him when he struck forward with his staff. Yeah, higher. He brandished the staff wildly. Spirit fire, E, wither, W, siphoning strike, Q. The turret also attacked. Pu. A scream sounded. Double kill. The Xuanhuan ancestral master and other elders behind him immediately stopped. The elders from the Xuanhuan cave abode opened their mouths in fear, their tongues almost sprung out. Hurry, attack now. But this dog-headed man moved like a gust of wind and dodged most of the spells. Then, he smashed down the staff again. Ah! The elder who was playing as the Chrono Keeper was knocked down. What? At this moment, the remaining two players felt like the dog-headed man before them. It's not a dog-headed man. The remaining elder said in horror. He faked being weak and hid his strength. We got tricked. The elder yelled. Run, quickly run. This man looked like a majestic god. The horrifying death god from a distant desert nation. How come he runs so fast? Obviously, the dog-headed man was much faster than these 5 people and quickly caught up with them. Ah! Triple kill, quadru kill. The elder playing as the Chrono Keeper who had been knocked down slowly raised his head and got up from the ground. While looking at his companions who were already far away, he gasped in confusion. Hiss! A-ee-oo! Run, run! He. Dot. Was that a godlike figure? After returning to their spawn spot, they exchanged a look of deep horror. This is the godlike figure whom they talked about? His power is as high as a great mountain. It's unthinkable. It's unrivaled. People enter this mystical realm to become such horrifying existences. The elders exchanged a look and saw the firm determination in each other's eyes. We'll also become such great existences. Who? In the Kanglan City shop. The dog-headed man wiped cold sweat off his forehead and ate a fried chicken bite with great enjoyment. He glanced at his match history for today. Defeat, 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 defeat. Victory. Chapter 790. The Turbulent Homeland. The godly battle at the peaks of 8 mountain pillars begins. 1 day later. What's the damn sitting 5 in a row in the internet cafe? We didn't have a single victory. Having been defeated all day long, the Xuanhuan ancestral master slammed his hand on the desk and stood up. You. He glared at Li Wu in anger. We were wrong from the first match. When the 5 of us charged at the turret to kill the dog-headed man, where was your crowd control? Why didn't you stun him? Since he had skipped the tutorial for the new players, he didn't know what class of champions offered crowd control, but after 1 day of playing, he had obtained lots of knowledge. Li Wu's face turned red, and he took a moment to organize his words before saying, we have 5 people. I thought that if I went up alone, he wouldn't run. I could injure him with spells and lower his HP. When he sees you guys coming up and decides to run, I would cast Rune Prison to freeze him. In short, I wanted to lure him to us and then freeze him when he tried to run. Li Wu stomped his foot and lamented, but he didn't run at all. How could I know that this player is so tough? He dares to charge at 5 champions after seeing all 5 of us. Did he know how powerful we were when we joined hands? Li Wu commented, reckless. He's purely a reckless player. Xuanhuan ancestral master froze. You seem to have a point. Then, He glared at the elder playing as the Chrono Keeper. Where were your time spells? They were supposed to slow him down, right? I cast the spells. I cast Time Warp on Li Wu to increase his speed. The elder said, otherwise, Li Wu's rise wouldn't be able to get there before us. If he couldn't get there before us, how could he carry out the plan? As a skill, Time Warp could both grant bonus movement speed to allies and slow down enemies. Xuanhuan Ancestral Master thought for a moment and found that the latter had a point too. These two people's thoughts. Although they were still new players, their heads were full of these textbook-like fancy plays. One couldn't really find fault with them. The Xuanhuan Ancestral Master turned his furious eyes toward Link Suzy, who controlled the Cryo-Phoenix. As an Ascendance Realm Master, how could your key spells miss the target? After all, when the flash frost of the Cryo-Phoenix exploded, it could stun all the enemies in an area. But you missed the target? I don't know why my spells missed. Strange. How could the dog-headed man dodged my spells? Meanwhile, in the new shop at Kanglan City Dash. My goodness, Dark Souls, Dark Sword is on live stream. On the dog-headed man's screen was a huge and horrifyingly distorted demon covered in chaotic flames. Its huge axe hacked down viciously like a shooting star engulfed in blazing flames. Almost at the same time, the character on the screen seemed to anticipate the move and shifted before his opponent made the move. He dodged this strike narrowly with millimeters to spare. He wiped off cold sweat and gasped, it was a close one. By now, Mr. Fang's shop had obviously expanded to a quite large scale. There were all kinds of players in his shops. For example, while League of Legends attracted many new players, some were still suffering in Dark Souls. Some players played other games such as Dungeon Fighters Online and World of Warcraft, etc. So was the situation with the newly released TV series, The Turbulent Homeland. Even the elders and disciples from the Heavenly faction in the new shop on the East Continent would watch the new TV series whenever new episodes came out. My goodness. Has the Turbulent Homeland released new episodes? The live stream of Turbulent Homeland on the big screen will be updated tonight too. In the past, the big screens only showed half of the episodes released each week. Only the paying customers could watch all the episodes. However, beginning from Turbulent Homeland, the TV series shown on the big screens had the same progress as the content behind the paywall. The only difference was that viewers watching the big screens couldn't obtain the benefits that they could have by watching in the virtual reality mode. It was almost the same as watching from the TV before Fang-Chi traveled through space and time. As mentioned before, the audience had seen Dongying region's 10,000 battleships setting off together to invade the central region in the previous glance. By now, the grand main force from the Dongying region had crossed the vast ocean. The central region was in a gloomy state before the great storm. As the war turned fiercer, it now came to the white-hot climax moment. At this moment, Elder Xuanhuan and Elder Duke Xiao lounged in their chairs before the computers and drank immortal happy nectar with great enjoyment, and Elder Senior Sister Yuyin, other disciples, and even the elves and knights in the Kanglan City shop were all doing the same. They all turned on today's new episodes of the Turbulent Homeland. In the scene before them were 8 huge mountain peaks emerging in the clouds. They looked as tall as the pillars supporting the sky and the human world. Like the most majestic and tallest mountain peaks in the world, they were amazing miracle-like grand peaks. There were the legendary 8 mountain pillars. In the ocean of surging clouds, the 8 mountains seemed to stand proudly beyond the sky. Taller than 3,000 meters and standing as high as the sky. The 8 mountain pillars could be seen in the depths of the ethereal clouds, a martial arts duel that would decide the fate of the Central region and Dongying region will take place here. The number 1 master of the Central region was going to duel with the unrivaled myth-like figure of the Dongying region. Would it be an unfulfilled heroic ambition or the end of the military god's unrivaled legend? Wow! Everyone stared at the screen with widened eyes. Can we watch this today? At the foot of the mountains were countless troops with flapping flags, but the greater number were top-level masters from the central region and Dongying region. At this moment, First Elder Hyrule of the Elf clan finally got some free time and arrived at the shop. He saw several familiar faces such as the Saint-level masters including Street Willy and Streetleton. They were all watching something with concentration while wearing virtual reality headsets. "What are you doing?" First Elder Hyrule asked in bafflement. "They used to play games here, right? I've been absent for a while, how come you're not playing games anymore?" "Oh, move away," Streetleton said without turning his head. "I'm watching their Uxia TV series." "Uxia TV series? I only heard of Xianxia. Are the Uxia TV series good?" Then, he saw an elf rogue who looked like Queen Kellybull, and she was also watching the TV series intently while wearing a virtual reality headset. He recognized her in one glance. "How come you're watching it too? To watch this Uxia TV series, you didn't even return to the Elf Royal Palace?" Elder Hyrule sneaked a glance from behind, The Turbulent Homeland, Episode 21st. Should I watch it too? Immediately, he found a spot and sat down. Among the surging clouds, the grand mountains shot up into the sky. Suddenly, everyone saw a light appearing on the horizon. It looked like a distant shooting star falling from the ninth heaven in the universe. With it came a clear long roar similar to that of a dragon. The sound came before the person. The worldly affairs are like a chess match. The universe is mysterious and immeasurable, and even heroes could only laugh and accept their fate.